Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. I'm absolutely thrilled to have you with us today because we are unpacking a truly mind-bending theological perspective on the universe. We're going to explore a framework from a fascinating source lecture that connects the smallest, most everyday things, like, say, a piece of rotting fruit, all the way up to the cosmic scale of distant galaxies. It's an incredible journey of shifting perspectives, so let's jump right in. Okay, let's dive into this. Think about it. What actually happens when an apple rots? What do you see when an apple falls from a tree and starts decaying? If you're like most of us, you probably just see a mess, right? You see something spoiling, turning to mush, basically creating waste. We naturally tend to look at decay as a breakdown of order, like biological trash that we just want to sweep away. But the source material asks us to pause and completely rethink this everyday occurrence. The speaker makes a really fascinating and honestly highly counterintuitive argument here. We just assume decay is chaos and pollution, but the lecture posits that decomposition is actually a flawlessly organized system, a perfect law. When that apple falls, it's not creating chaos at all. It is triggering a highly disciplined natural response. The source describes microscopic bacteria like an army of disciplined soldiers, arriving on the scene with a very specific mission. They aren't polluting the earth. They're dismantling the apple, piece by piece, to return its matter right back to its origin. So it's a highly regulated cycle of existence and breakdown, meaning that even in decay, there is absolute order. To help us wrap our heads around the sheer scale of this concept, we're going to follow a quick roadmap. First, the universe's hidden order and laws, then human nurturing and responsibility, followed by the law of duality, nature's flawless production factories, and finally, submitting to the Lord of the worlds. All right, section 1. The hidden order and laws of the universe. So, when we think of universal laws, we usually jump straight to physics or chemistry, right? But according to the source material, the physical laws of the universe are actually secondary. Long before the physical law of gravity existed, and long before the conservation of mass or energy, like E equals mc squared, were established, the Creator instituted the law of meaning and purpose. This suggests the universe wasn't just some random explosion of matter that later happened to develop rules. Instead, meaning was literally the very first law. Every single thing created after that was bound by this foundational rule, that nothing exists without a purpose. And the lecture takes this idea of foundational laws straight into the realm of physics, specifically looking at the speed of light, which is roughly 300,000 kilometers per second. The speaker frames this not just as a cold scientific measurement, but as a divine command. It's a law of limitation placed on physical matter. But here's the really fascinating twist. While light is bound by the strict speed limit, the source notes that human consciousness, thought, and faith operate infinitely faster. This happens through what the speaker calls psychons, basically units of thought or consciousness that connect instantly across space, totally bypassing physical speed limits. Moving into section 2, nurturing potential and human responsibility. We're shifting our focus down from cosmic speeds to something deeply intimate, our own biology, and our absolute need for external nurturing. The speaker makes a super compelling biological argument here. Just having potential does not equal reality. Take the human eye, for example. We're born with it, sure, but the lecture points out that if a newborn's eyes are blindfolded for the first 6 months of life, they actually lose the ability to ever learn to see. The eye has to be exposed to light to be nurtured into functioning. The exact same goes for language. The source references feral children, kids lost in the woods without human contact. Despite having vocal cords and a brain, they never learn to speak because they lack the nurturing environment of hearing language. We literally require constant external nurturing just to activate our most basic human potential. Okay, section 3, the law of duality and creation in pairs. The philosophical view presented in the source is that absolutely everything in existence is bound by a strict law of pairs. The only exception is the Creator, who alone is singular. And we see this everywhere. In physics and electricity, the entire system completely breaks down if you don't have both a positive and a negative charge. They are entirely mutually dependent, and biology relies on this exact same rhythmic dependency. The male and female concepts are required for the continuation of life. One simply cannot functionally exist in isolation without the other. Then, the lecture ties this scientific reality directly into profound theology. The argument is that just as light can't be comprehended without dark, even heaven requires the conceptual existence of hell. You just can't have good without the framework of bad. You can't have a believer without the existence of a non-believer. This dual nature proposes that humans and the whole universe we inhabit are never truly independent or self-sufficient. We are always part of this grander interdependent design.
Now, what's really interesting is Section 4, Nature's Flawless Factories. The lecture uses a highly vivid industrial metaphor here, viewing nature as this perfectly calibrated chemical laboratory. Think about a garden where you've got jasmine, sage, and linden planted right next to each other. As the speaker observes, all of these plants are extracting their nutrients from the exact same dirt, drinking the exact same water, and absorbing the exact same sunlight. Yet each plant uses nearly 100 chemical compounds, combining them with a hidden golden formula stored in their glands to manufacture completely distinct scents. The source emphasizes that this isn't just random chance. It's a process measured with nanotechnology-like precision. No human laboratory has ever perfectly replicated these natural golden formulas using raw synthetic materials. It's pretty wild to think about. Building on that industrial metaphor, the source asks us to look at a simple leaf. It's not just random greenery. The speaker frames every single leaf as a heavily engineered, free-of-charge energy factory. It quietly takes in the carbon dioxide we exhale and manufactures the oxygen we need to survive, all perfectly balancing the Earth's atmosphere to match our human sleep and wake cycles. And when the environment changes, the factory adapts. Out in the desert, a plant drops its leaves and turns into a cactus, acting as a vital storage tank, kind of like the hump on a camel, storing its water internally to survive the harsh conditions. Which brings us to our final part, Section 5, Submitting to the Lord.
All of this sets the stage for one massive macro-theological conclusion. At the center of this explainer is the theological term Rab. Now, this is often translated simply as Lord, but the source heavily emphasizes that this specific divine attribute actually means the nurturer or the sustainer. It represents the immense ongoing divine effort put into the universe. It's the attribute of guiding, developing, and maintaining the boundaries of all creation. It's not just about creating something and then walking away. It's about the active, continuous labor of sustaining every single atom. To truly appreciate that effort, the speaker asks us to zoom all the way out. Consider the sheer scale of the universe. The source shares this awe-inspiring statistic. There are roughly 400 billion solar systems just within our own galaxy. And beyond that, there are an estimated 400 billion galaxies in the observable universe. So the crucial point here is scale and perspective. The speaker notes that if you put the Earth next to our sun, the Earth is like a tiny microbe sitting next to a massive football, and our sun is just one of billions. The goal of this visual contrast is to deeply humble us. We are microscopically small in this vast expanse of space, and yet we are perfectly sustained. This brings us to the lecture's ultimate thesis, which is captured beautifully in this quote. What should we say about the effort of the Lord of the Throne on humans? To nurture is to give effort. The speaker argues that true spiritual submission, being a believer, isn't born from a place of fear or terror of punishment. Actually, it's born from a profound, overwhelming recognition of this immense divine labor. When you realize the effort it takes to sustain your eyesight, the leaves that make your oxygen, and the galaxies above, submission becomes an act of deep, profound gratitude. And that leaves us with one final provocative question to ponder. How will you respond to this immense effort the universe has invested in you? The next time you see a simple leaf fall to the ground, or an apple rotting in the grass, I hope you look at it with completely new eyes, not as chaos, but as a beautiful, deliberate part of a profoundly nurtured universe. Thank you for joining me on this journey today. Keep learning, keep questioning, and I'll catch you next time.